Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Stephanie. I am a life and relationship coach. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. So this week I want to get into boundary setting, and I've talked a lot about this on my channel, but I want to get into why we sometimes don't set boundaries with people, why we allow people to either take advantage of us or abuse us. And I think that this is really important towards you really taking care of yourself. So one of the things that I always say with boundaries is, and I just have some notes here because I want to make sure that I'm clear on this, and I want to give you specific examples that you can use when you are setting boundaries. So first off, people pleasing. If you are a people pleaser, then you are going to struggle with boundaries because you don't want to say no to people. You fear that if I say no to you, that you'll either leave me or you won't like me or you'll be disappointed in me, or maybe you'll view me, or maybe I'll even view myself as the person that's not flexible and not willing to help others. And so because of that people pleaser, because of that codependency sometimes that we have, we give and give and give, and we're giving for the wrong reasons. We're giving either because we want to get something, which is love, approval, validation. We want someone to think that we're a good person because we don't tell ourselves that we're a good person. The other thing is we have been conditioned by our parents, by our society, to put other people first. So when we're growing up, we're taught to always do this because mom would like you to do it, or do this because this will mean you're a good person. And yes, there has to be a balance between being a giving person, being a loving person, being a happy person that wants to help other people, and also learning how to kind of fill ourselves up inside as well and feed ourselves. And I feel like that's where we as a society get a little twisted. We focus so much on giving to other people, giving to the other person, that we don't learn how to give to ourselves. No one teaches us that. So something as simple as just being on the playground, when you see kids and you see a child playing with a toy and another child comes over to him or her and says, I would like to play with that. Usually the parent immediately comes in and goes, go ahead, share, make sure you share. And that's really important, of course, to teach our children how to share. But on the other hand, maybe the child wasn't done with the toy. So I think things like that just go to show how we just give. We don't even bother to ask ourselves, hey, am I done playing with this? Do I want to give this up right now? Or can I just play with it? Or am I being taught or forced to just give and give, and I don't want to give? I want to give to myself first. So there has to be a balance between both of those things. And it is sometimes a difficult balance to teach kids those things, but I do think that we're going to go over a lot of things in here in terms of how to set boundaries. And one of them is really asking yourself, do I want to do this? Is this good for me? It's a great thing to want to help people, and you definitely feel amazing inside when you're helping others. But when you're depleted and you know that you don't take care of yourself, then it's not a good feeling to help others. You actually become really exhausted. You become really resentful because maybe you feel like, hey, I'm always giving and giving in these relationships, and I don't ever feel like anyone's ever pulling their own weight. I don't feel like people are meeting me in the middle or helping me out. And when I need something, everyone's quick to say, no, they can't. But when someone wants something of me, I'm just quick to jump and help anyone who needs the assistance. And so what I always say to that is, if you're helping and you're exhausted, or you're helping and you're becoming resentful, if you're helping looking for validation, looking for someone to, make you feel like you're a good person, or that you have guilt, or that you put this kind of shame blanket on yourself that if I don't do this, I'm not a good person, or maybe, I don't love this person enough if I'm not willing to help them out. That's really not the case. A lot of the times, especially the givers, especially the people pleasers, especially the codependents, they will go above and beyond, and actually they give and give to a fault, because what you're doing is you're giving so much to someone else that you're not actually allowing them to learn the lesson that maybe they need to learn in their own journey. When I realized that, it kind of was like an aha moment for me, and I was like, wow, I'm coming in and I'm trying to save the day, and I don't often say no to people. And one of the biggest things too for me was I was always exhausted. And then I would become a little bitter and resentful of always helping others. And then when I felt like someone wasn't helping me, I got angry about it. And so I had to learn how to take care of myself first. And one of the things was finding out, why am I always saying yes to everyone? So one of the biggest things, and I just touched on this a little bit ago, was asking myself, is this good for me? Should I be doing this right now? So I always say those questions are the questions, especially if you're doing codependent recovery. If you're trying to overcome from codependency, if you're trying to reprogram, one of the biggest things towards self-love, self-care, whatever you want to call it, is asking yourself, should I be doing this right now? Is this good for me right now? And if you're really honest with yourself, the truth will come up, and that part of you, that loving part of you, will always say, hey, I don't really want to do this right now. And the biggest thing with boundaries is learning how to say no and not explaining yourself. So when we say no and we begin giving people explanations, that's really because we feel guilt. Either we feel guilt ourselves and we want to convince you that, hey, I want you to agree with why I'm saying no, so I'm going to give you this explanation of all the reasons why I'm not going to be able to do this right now, and I'm hoping that you see these explanations as valid yourself and respect me and understand why I can't say no and not be mad at me. That's basically why we tend to over-explain ourselves. The other reason why we over-explain ourselves is because we know exactly the person that we're saying no to. We know this person, we know this personality, and a lot of the time this person will give us shade, this person will make us feel guilty, or they'll just say something to either manipulate us or be a little relentless with what it is they want. They're the pusher, right? They're probably the manipulative, narcissistic type of person. And so when you're dealing with this type of personality and you don't have the confidence to just say no and have that be it, then you're gonna over-explain, because again, I wanna give you this big story as to why I'm saying no, so you'll see the story and respect why I'm saying no, and not, think that I'm a bad person or think that I'm a selfish person. So how do we get away from that ability to not over-explain? For me, I realized that when I started asking myself, hey, do I want to be doing this right now? Is this really good for me in this moment? So when I asked myself those questions, and sometimes I did want to do it, I was like, you know what? I do want to help this person out. I'm in a good place. I'm rested. I feel good. I'm doing it for the right reasons. I'm not doing it so you'll like me or you won't be mad at me or you'll think I'm a good person. That was really important. And then also when I didn't want to do something, I knew that me over-explaining wasn't me being my most confident, self-loving person. And again, I always talk about this, but being that person, you can be that person tomorrow. You can start being that person right after watching this tape. It's just a matter of saying, okay, I'm gonna be her, and practicing in each moment being that person, knowing, hey, I'm about to start over-explaining, or even in the midst of trying to over-explain. Why am I doing this right now? Oh, okay, I'm doing this because I don't want this person to be mad at me. Okay, well, if they really love me and care about me, why would they be mad at me? They would respect what I have to say. They would respect that the answer is no, and they would never do those kind of tactics. And that was the other thing, realizing that whenever someone was trying to give me a little bit of shade, whenever someone was trying to make me feel guilty or whatever, right, manipulate me or anything like that, I realized that was a tactic. I was like, oh my God. And they may not even consciously know that they're doing it. It doesn't mean that they're malicious. It could just mean that they're just used to a certain you, and you're trying to not be that old version of yourself that's not serving you anymore. You're trying to be a healthier version of yourself. And so it's going to take everyone in your life, whether they're completely abusive, narcissistic, crazy sociopath, or just someone that maybe tiptoes on trying to take advantage of you every now and then, or maybe doesn't want to do something for themselves and they just want you to solve all their problems for them, which we now know is not benefiting them. That's not me loving someone by taking on all of their stuff and doing everything for them. I had to, I say I, but I had to too. We have to learn how to say no so people can live their own journey and learn their own lessons. And the people that were relentless and abusive, then I really got a glimpse as to who someone was, because I was like, wow, I'm actually at a place where I can really say no, and I'm asking myself, what do I think? What do I feel? What do I need? And I'm really honoring that. And when I try verbalizing that to someone just kind of throws shade at me and makes me feel guilty for saying no. That's not a person that loves and respects me. That's just a person that's trying to take advantage of me or get what they want out of the situation. The other reason why giving an explanation is never a good thing is because there's always going to be a person, and usually it's the abusive person that's trying to get what they want out of the situation. They're going to give you all the reasons, or they're going to give you a reason to overlook that explanation. So for example, if you said, hey, I can't go and do this, or I can't go to this party, or I can't pick you up, I have my kids, or I can't because I have to go to work early, or something, like whatever the reason is that you explain. Oh, I'm too tired. You're gonna have someone say, well, can you take a nap later on? Oh, you can bring your kids with you. Oh, can you call your boss maybe and see if you can come in late? So that becomes also the problem with explaining ourselves or giving people a reason why we can't sometimes, especially if it's a lie. So if it's a lie and we're not being honest with ourselves and with the other person to just say, I really want to do this, but I really just can't right now. I want to help you. I love you so much, but this just isn't a good time for me. I really need to take care of myself. That's being authentically truthful. And if someone, gave you a reason or tried to kind of manipulate you and say, oh, I completely understand, but you can rest later on. This is really important to me and I need you. And it's something that's not a catastrophic thing. It's just a favor that they need. Then you're dealing with someone who's possibly manipulative and narcissistic. The other thing with boundaries is when someone asks something of you, I know for me personally, and I know a lot of people that struggle with boundaries, they probably do the same thing, is when someone would ask something of me, I would not even think about whether or not I wanted to do it. I just always said yes. And so when someone does ask something of you, really slowing life down a little bit, getting really in touch with my thoughts, who I am, what do I need, that's self-care, that's self-nurturing, and that's really you being able to take care of yourself, right? Mentally, emotionally, that's being mindful, that's taking control of all the chatter that's going on. And so when someone asks something of you, one of the first things you should always say is, I might be able to do it, but let me get back to you. That's a quick and simple way of just saying, I'm not really sure. Let me kind of just do a little check-in with myself, see if it works for me, and I'll let you know. And again, like we've said throughout this whole video, someone that really respects you is going to respect that answer and say, I completely understand. Let me know let me know what you think. Someone that may need an answer right away and try to maybe push and maybe be a little relentless with what it is that they need and trying to get it out of you might say something like, okay, but I really need an answer soon and I kind of want to get this situated and can you just let me know now? Or just someone who's like a pusher, right? One of the things that I have always said, and it's really good to take these phrases and learn and practice them. Learning how to say these things so it becomes a little bit like a speech in a way, and then you can be more authentic with how you say it. That's really, really good, especially if you're a person that fears confrontation. But something that I always say to someone like that is a little bit of a pusher is, well, I really do need a minute to think about it, but if you can't wait, I totally understand if you have to make other arrangements. There you go. So something like that basically says, hey, if you can't wait for me, then you're gonna have to go figure it out on your own because I need a minute to think about it. And I think that that's self-respect right there. And you're also, boundaries is not just about learning how to say no to people or thinking about, hey, does this work for me? Should I be doing this for myself? It's also about teaching people how you want to be treated. And so when someone begins pushing and being abusive in that way to you, possibly, and just being a little relentless with you, standing up to someone to say, hey, I'm feeling the push and I don't like it. And telling someone, hey, if you can't wait for me, I completely understand. You're just gonna have to make other arrangements then. That's the best feeling in the world when you start saying those things to especially the people in your life that are abusive and are the takers. So there are many phrases that we can say, sorry, I can't is very simple and to the point. And I think that even if you do explain and give them the truth, which is, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm really busy right now. I'm sorry, I can't, I'm really tired right now. Again, if anyone tries to throw shade your way, it's really easy to start spotting that, and you can call someone out on that. Say, I told you I couldn't, and that it wasn't really good for me. I completely understand that maybe you're in a bind. I completely understand that you need help with this, but I'm unfortunately not able to give it, and I'm getting really, sad, or I'm getting unhappy, or it's not really nice that you're trying to make me feel guilty for saying no. And then disengaging. You should never ever feel guilty for putting yourself first. And this is something that you have to repeat daily, because of course there are going to be situations in life when we put someone else ahead of ourselves. Relationships are all about compromise, right? Especially romantic relationships. So if your partner is going through something and maybe you kind of have to put your stuff aside a little bit and be there for someone else, or help out a little bit more, and vice versa. I mean, that's just kind of like the give and take of any relationship, at least in my opinion. But putting yourself first is about saying, you know what? I've been kind of giving a little too much, and not that I don't want to give, because I love to. I gotta first kind of take a step back and give to myself, because it's not our job to fix people. It's not our job to be everything for everyone, and never bother to say, what do I need to give myself today? That is like so important, I think. Every single day you should be asking yourself those questions. What today should you be giving yourself? So for me, I know that today, I haven't done it in a few days. I need to go out. I need to be outside. That's something I need to give myself. I'm going to hopefully go take a walk at some point today and be outside in nature for a little bit and spend quality time with my son. Those are like the 3 things that like I need to give myself today. And I'm going to give myself those things because I deserve it. And that is me taking care of myself. I know that maybe yesterday I didn't give so much to myself because I had a lot on my plate. And this is kind of, you know, again, the back and forth with life. Some days we're really busy and we can't really take care of ourselves too much, or we have to maybe do things for other people because we love them. And then other days, okay, now I have to focus more on myself. The other thing with boundaries is really, I always talk about this, your boundaries are your standards. It's how you want to be treated by other people. So basically, this is your way of telling people, hey, this is what I expect, this is what I don't expect. And one of the things that's really important is, I always say, you have to know how you want to be treated. So if you know that when your friend is late all the time, that that's something that really bothers you, or when, you know, you have a buddy that kind of makes these comments and you maybe think it's a little disrespectful, whatever it is, whatever the situation is, when someone's pushing and pushing and they're not respecting your boundaries or not respecting that you said no, you have to be able to verbally communicate to someone else how you want to be treated and that bothers you. And instead of you being late, instead of you saying this, I would appreciate it if you love and respect me. I would really appreciate it if you didn't say those things in front of me. Just learning how to talk to people and be able to communicate yourself to others and do it in a very non-emotional way, so to speak, right? Because we don't want to get riled up. We're not trying to get angry. We don't want to react to people. We just want to be able to respond and be able to communicate. And that takes practice, depending on the person, depending on the situation. But just being aware of it to begin with, just being mindful of these things, it'll help you to practice boundaries and to really, really learn this stuff. So I hope that this video has helped you. If you have enjoyed it, please click subscribe down below and the notification bell. That will inform you each and every week when I do upload a new video with a new topic. Don't forget to also follow me on social media. I will list my Instagram over here. I often do lives. I'm always answering your questions on Instagram. So if you are not following me there, definitely go check me out, and I will see you next week.